This is
Culmina Fund. Resist, persist, and reimagine. A new era for African women's political power. Welcome to Season 2 of Culmina Fund's podcast, Resist, Persist, and Reimagine. A new era for African women's political power. Today, we are joined by a trailblazer who served as a member of parliament in Uganda for 15 years and made history as the country's first female leader of the opposition, Honorable Winnie Kiiza. In this episode, we explore the roots of her activism, born from her mother's resistance to traditional widow inheritance and her strength in navigating the economic survival of a female-led household. We discuss the barriers she broke, from ageism to the social stigma of being an unmarried young woman in politics. Honorable Kiiza also shares her strategies for survival, the role of philanthropy in supporting diverse women in leadership, and the urgent need of economic empowerment and global solidarity. Finally, she offers a stirring call to action for young people to reclaim their place in democracy. Here is our conversation with the Honorable Winnie Kiiza.
It is my distinct honor to be sitting to a woman leader that I admire, I've read about, and today I am blessed to have her in our presence, a former member of parliament in Uganda who served for close to 15 years and also the first woman leader of the opposition. We must underline that. Honorable Winnie Kiiza. Karibu sana.
Asante dadangu. Thank you so much.
Yes. I'll open the floor for you to also introduce yourself in a manner that also you prefer or any other information I may have left out.
Thank you so much, dadangu. I am Winnie Kiiza, like she has said, a former member of parliament. I served in parliament for 15 years. And in the 15 years, I was privileged to chair accountability committees, the Committee on Local Government Accounts, the Committee on Government Assurances. I was, again, the opposition chief whip, opposition deputy chief whip. And of course, I was again privileged to be appointed the first female leader of the opposition, a position that made me the first female CC independence in the government of Uganda. And before I came to parliament, I had served as a district councillor for my sub-county, back home in the district council. I served in the district council for 8 years, and during the 8 years, I served in many portfolios as a secretary for finance and mobilization and administration, then secretary for social services. And yes, I think this was the springboard for my political journey. I'm a mother, I'm married, I'm a mother of 5, including a set of twins. So back home, they call me Nalongo, meaning the mother of twins. But I'm passionate about social justice, human rights, and of course, women's participation in leadership.
Awesome. Just now take us from what you've just shared about your journey.
Yeah.
What really inspired you to venture into politics and your activism journey?
My activism journey and the decision to become a politician was a combination of so many things. Growing up as a young girl, I witnessed a lot of injustice meted upon women, and specifically my mother. When my father passed on, in our culture we have this notion of widow inheritance. And so my mother was supposed to be passed on to one of my uncles. And I think she was the first Mukonzo woman to say no to that cultural norm of widow inheritance. She said, I married one man in this family and I don't want to be passed over to another man. I'll take care of my children and I will be here as a wife. And this did not go well with the elders of the family. So she was looked at as a rebellious woman. She was looked at as a woman who is indisciplined. And so they abandoned her with 7 children. So she took care of all of us, the 7 children. And it was tough. It became tough. Our father was a teacher. And our mother was a community mobilizer, community worker, but basically home manager. And so when daddy passed on, and he was the breadwinner for that matter, the one who would get the cash, life became hard. So when life became hard, I saw her struggle as a woman, as a single woman, and with so many children, with so many responsibilities. But among the many things she did to get money in the house so that she pays for our school fees was to bake pancakes. And so we started vending these pancakes. So in the process of vending the pancakes, we would take them to school. And I saw many of the other women in the community who were widows suffering. I saw women not being given a chance to speak. I kept telling myself, this situation can change. This situation can change. And so when an opportunity came, I said, I think I better step up and be the voice of those whose voices cannot be heard. So my decision to take on leadership was really as a result of how I was brought up. And I knew that certain things needed to be questioned. Not that I wanted to be rebellious, but I knew that that was the fairer way of doing things, that certain things must be spoken about. And so I said, I must be a voice for the women, most especially those who cannot be able to speak for themselves. And that is how I became a woman councillor. By the way, I was not yet married at the time I decided to become a councillor. And that is another story also, because it became a tedious issue. It became a challenging process. At the beginning, I couldn't make it. I lost the election. But I didn't give up because there was this thing driving me. I must keep trying and making sure that I change the narrative. And so, well, it didn't take long. I was lucky that when the election ended, the person who won resigned after 2 months. And after those 2 months, I then again showed up, still unmarried, still very young and fresh at the age of 25. So I came up again and started contesting. And they gave me the votes. They trusted me. And I think I didn't disappoint them. I was true to what I told them that I would do. I worked with the communities. I changed the laws. I campaigned for justice. I changed the way things were being done. And they gave me a second term as a councillor. So after the second term, that is when now I went into parliament. And as a first timer, I did it. So that is how I joined politics. It was from a point of resistance, trying to seek changes, and I knew that it started with me. I can't continue crying for changes, and I want to sit back and I see other people driving the change agenda. So I needed to be part of that agenda. That is how I started.
I like the part where you've said it was based on your own resistance.
Yes.
And you're reminding us that not only are we pushing towards radical imagination, but the resistance and resilience part is very important.
Very important. Yeah, very important.
So just maybe to build onto that, you've mentioned briefly, and you mentioned that that was a story of, maybe that's another different story, but I'd like to bring you into that story because this has the same barriers and challenges that prevent women from involving themselves in politics, participating meaningfully and freely in politics.
Yes.
And especially those from marginalized and diverse backgrounds and identities. So what are some of these barriers that really hindered you at the time? And do they also play out as some of the challenges you faced as the country's first leader, female leader of the opposition?
Now, fast forward, as I was contesting as councillor, because that is the story I said would be a story for another day. Now you want me to speak it now.
Yes.
So that story was that this young, small woman, I was too tiny, little girl. And the issue was this tiny thing that is not even married, how do we trust it with leadership? We have responsible women, and this was from senior members of the community, including women. How do we trust an unmarried girl to represent women as if we don't have women who are married, women who matter, women who can stand up and speak? The good news is that we are running under a quota system. And so it was a battle between us, the women. Now, me, I was contesting with other women who are married, and I was the only young person in the group of around 6 women contesting for just a position of a councillor. So the thing that was an issue on me was that I was young.
Ageism.
Yes, ageism. Then too, I was not married. There is no way I can represent married women. There is no way I can understand the pain of married women. And so I didn't qualify according to them. The other issue was that young girls, if exposed, then they will become prostitutes. I was going to take people's men. And so all they looked at was this prostitute who is looking for an opportunity to go and have access to men. And I kept telling them, I am a child of a woman. I am grown up in a home. I have seen firsthand how a widow suffers. And so ask me about the challenges of a widow. Even when I have not been a widow, I can be able to tell you. Tell me the challenges that women go through in marriage. I have seen my mother go through the challenges. What can't I speak? At this age, I'm old enough to speak. And when they started talking about she's not married, she's young, I told them, you know, the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda says I become a woman at the age of 18. At that age, I'm supposed to be married. It's not my fault that I've not gotten a man to marry me. Because our tradition, I took them to culture, our tradition dictates that a woman waits for a man to approach her. Now, for me, I have waited and they have not come. I can't just go on now asking them that I love them. And I would tease them. The boys that are here, I love you. And you really look amazing. If I had the opportunity, I would have come to you. But because culture doesn't allow me to do so. But I want to ask, do I really look the most ugly girl that you wouldn't want to have for a wife? And so I would continue teasing them. I am doing one thing that culture does not want me to do. But because you have asked for it, I dare the boys who are here. Let whoever wants to marry come to marry me. I am available for you. Now, while it is now normal that someone can say I'm single and searching these days, those days it wasn't like that among the Bakonzo culture where I am born, that you would stand up and say, I am single and searching. Never. So it became an issue for me, and I teased them along culture, went into the constitutional provisions, and before I could understand, it became an issue that now was hyping my contest. That everybody now started thinking, I think we are wrong. I think we are wrong. So to me, in that campaign, I challenged the narrative and changed the way people looked at unmarried girls and changed that the way people thought that leadership is for a certain class of people and not the others. And when they trusted me with leadership again, when I came for that by-election, I won with over 86%. And this opened ways for another young girl who replaced me when I was going to Parliament. She was equally not married, and those questions never came to her again. When I left Parliament, the girl who took up from me is a single girl, is not married, but those questions never came again. So I knew that this was a barrier that I had broken for them. Well, these barriers still happen to other girls.
True.
And other women, I hear these stories. I was just sharing with my sister from Zimbabwe. She says they kept asking, this unmarried girl, how do we trust her with leadership? Can't the father guide her? Can you imagine? Now, the other issue is the issue of finances. Yes, it was an issue as I was also getting into the landscape of politics. It is still an issue that women are not economically empowered, just like our counterparts, the males, and it becomes a barrier. We still have the patriarchal biases that also subject women to unnecessary criteria when you want to get into leadership of who does she go with, which kind of woman do we want to have. Women are supposed to be in the kitchen. Women are not supposed to be on the forefront. That when you come up, then you will be called names. Her Excellency BC was talking about her being called a witch, her being called a woman who has put her husband into the pocket just because she's vocal and outgoing. So some of those barriers, there are women who will say, this is not our trade. We just want to remain nice women. We just want to remain true to what the culture demands of us. Now of late, there is even the technology facilitated violence
Yes.
that is also meted against women, and this is also becoming a barrier for many women to participate. Many women don't want violence. Domestic violence is also another issue that women experience, and it becomes a barrier for them to participate in leadership. We still have a long journey to walk. It's not yet uhuru for the women's participation in politics. We still have a long way to go to ensure that there is a leveled ground for all the actors in politics, that the women can equally participate at the same footing with men. And that's why I relaxed when I looked at the theme for the G20 summit, talking about equality, solidarity and sustainability.
Yeah.
I said, wow, maybe at this time, the G20 nations are going to talk about how do we move now from the small gains that we have made to possibly now going to full achievement of the Sustainable Goal 5, which is talking about gender parity. Yeah. That maybe now with this equality thematic area, maybe we are moving there. And that, yes, there will be solidarity from all sectors of life, that the men will equally know that we need each other, and therefore we must work together if we must sustain the gains that we have so far achieved. And I just want to thank the Coleman Fund for ensuring that this event happens on the sidelines of the G20.
Of the G20. Thank you so much for those amazing reflections from your perspective. Now, we've spoken largely around the barriers, the challenges, which is very important for us to acknowledge and name them and point them out. How about now we now move towards now the strategies and interventions that you've personally seen as a woman political leader that has worked during your era, and how do we duplicate, replicate, and continue doing more of what's working?
For me, one of the strategic areas that we can handle, as a matter of fact, women still need to be trained. There needs to be an intentional, intergenerational co-mentorship, intergenerational circle around women, that a woman who is in leadership has a senior woman who will hold her hand, and she gets a woman who is of her peer, maybe to have where they can share experiences, but also that woman leader will hold another woman's hand who is younger than she is, that we shall begin walking a journey as a collective. It can help. And then too, ensuring that we advocate for legal policies that put money into the hands of women. If women are fully empowered economically, they will be accepted at tables where decisions are made. They can be able to finance their campaigns. They can be in position to, yes, also be able to fit in society. Not necessarily because they have, and some of the abuses we can avoid them. Because many of the women will tell you that they are sexually harassed as they go to fundraise for money for campaigns. Men take advantage of their vulnerability and incapabilities to raise funds. So if we can ensure that there are policies that put money into the hands of women, it will be an issue that will help us to navigate through these challenges. And ensuring that they are inclusive governments. If governments begin thinking of policies that consider or put at the center the rights of women, then women will find space and will be free to participate in leadership. It is possible, it can happen. And putting in place, of course, legal regimes, legal frameworks that support the participation of women. Can we put laws that possibly protect women from the online harassment? Can we put laws that possibly will hold perpetrators to violence accountable? Because these are some of the issues that put women on the cliff and make it impossible for them to participate in leadership spaces. If we continue doing this and advocating for it, but also finding a global network that will amplify the women's voices. We fight in silos. Each woman is fighting on her own. If possibly we can come as a collective and know that when one woman is in danger, all of us are in danger. That an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. And we all come up. I know we can make strides.
Maya Angelou actually stated that when a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women. And building on the online harassment, domestic violence, sexual and gender-based violence, femicide, and the likes, GBV, or gender-based violence and femicide, have largely been a part of the conversation around this year's G20 summit in Johannesburg. So how can African women show or demonstrate and be part of solidarity and also holding space for gender-based violence survivors?
It still goes back to the collective that I talked about, global networking, knowing that an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us, that when one woman raises, it's all of us that are raising. I give you an example of what is happening in Tanzania right now. What happened as Her Excellency President Suluhu was being elected, they are holding it against all women and not Suluhu alone. So a mistake committed by one woman is a mistake for all the women. While a mistake committed by a man, it's his bad, it is him, not all other men. Other men will go scot-free. So in the same way, where there is gender-based violence, it doesn't affect only the victims. All women should be concerned worldwide. And it's the reason we are gathered here, to show solidarity with other women, most especially who are here in South Africa. The rates at which femicide and gender-based violence are increasing in South Africa is worrying. And this must be worrying all the women in the whole world, that what is happening here should affect them. And so they should all be bothered. In my country where I come from, we managed as a women's caucus in parliament to put aside our party affiliations and look at how to move forward to come up with a gender legislative agenda. And it was during our coming together that we managed to pass the domestic violence bill. We were able to pass the prohibition of genital mutilation. We were able to pass the trafficking in persons. We were able to pass the Women Castle Act. We were able to pass the Youth Act. We were able to pass the Children's Act. Because we were standing together in solidarity. So there is need for us to come up with a team of women. Call them Pan-African women, call them a global team of women that will stand in solidarity with whichever woman is facing injustice. And we say a no to whichever kind of injustice. We know that our nations are signatories to so many protocols. The CEDAW, the Maputo Protocol, and all these, the Geneva Conventions.
CEDAW.
CEDAW, Geneva Conventions, Maputo Protocol. They are signatories to this. And majority of these protocols and legal instruments speak to the fact of non-violence against women and condemning all forms of violence. But we still face the violence. And there is nobody who is holding them accountable. So if we can have a group of women, I got inspired when Fazai from Zimbabwe said that when she was being harassed and her government wanted to take her to prison for 20 years, and then former President, Her Excellency Salif Johnson, tweeted and said the whole women's movement in the world is watching. The government went a bit low. They went slow and started changing the ruling that they had given to the sentence that they had given her. If we can have such critical voices coming out at a time when the female's race is in a critical junction, is in danger, then we shall know that we are about to arrive to where we want to go, where we hold each other accountable, but where we can be able to pick each other up at a time when one of us falls down. Because it doesn't matter how many times you fall, but how many times you raise every time you fall down. And so even to us as women leaders and those who care about issues that concern women, we need to come together as a collective.
Exactly.
So that we demand for accountability, we reason together, we amplify the voices together. But if we continue letting each woman to fight on their own.
On their own, yeah.
They are in wells, and we are not pulling them into the ocean. They will suffer there alone.
Just to shift the conversation around, there's a need for collective power, building collective power. There's a need for a global network coming together. There's a need for solidarity. How about the role that philanthropy and funds like Colmena would play in supporting democratic initiatives and women's political leadership, especially in the global south? What do you think, or what comes in mind in terms of how will they get to support? How will they get to do that work?
I want, first of all, to thank those that are putting resources in funding women's participation. Because I know that nations that have put women at the center of their decisions have transformed massively. I do believe that women are the first developers of minds. When a mother is holding a baby, a woman will be speaking to this toddler, even when she knows that either the child is not even hearing, or the child is not even understanding. But I want to tell you that these little stories that our parents tell us are written on our minds. And having women get into positions of leadership is rewriting narratives of our countries, is putting leadership in the entire chain of leadership. That when a woman, an empowered woman, transforms a nation. And so, philanthropy should ensure that money is put in the hands where transformation is going to happen. And still it calls us to remain united as a people. Because I know that even those who have funds will look out for those who are united. Will look out for those who are on the move. Yes, I want to thank them that they have made funds available. Colmena has ensured that women get started and get going, but we need to, even amidst the funds that we have, we need to also be organized. Because those who have the funds want to see us organized. But if we start eating each other and tearing each other apart, the funds will be meaningful. You have heard of the notion of the pull her down? If we start pulling each other down, then even the funders will not find reason to fund us.
True.
They want to fund us because they feel they want to be part of a journey that we have started. They want to be part of the transformation that we want to talk about. And so it is important that we get together. It is important that we start organizing so that by the time the funds come, they land in the sure hands where they will be put to proper use. And for me, my passion again is on accountability. How do we ensure that those who are supporting our cause can see the real sense for which they are funding us? How do we hold each other accountable? That organization X is receiving funds from Colmena. Are they using the money for the purpose for which Colmena gave them the money to advance the cause of women's political participation? And it's important that organizations which are helping our governments, which are supporting our governments to develop and possibly to transform, should start with transforming the mothers of those nations. And transforming of the mothers of the nations is to empower them to get into political participation, because decisions that transform nations begin from those tables of influence, either at lower local governments or at higher institutions. And the global south needs that so much. Our women are still back. First of all, we are not empowered economically, like I said. So because of our low levels of economic empowerment, we find ourselves being again at low levels of decision making. And so our political participation is weak. So those who are supporting us should ensure that in the programs that they build around our empowerment, they are also oiling the system that is around us, our support system. How do you create an enabling environment? How do you ensure that these women understand that there is violence online? How do you ensure that these women can understand how to use technology to advance their cause and reach out to many? There is a lot that needs to be facilitated, but also enabling us to have networks. How do you support the women politicians to have accessible networks that they can learn from? Many times we have a problem that when I'm in politics, I am still around myself, around my country, around my village, and I don't get to understand what is happening in the rest of the world. So it is equally important that those who are supporting our work should also involve the issue of exposing us to understand what is happening in the outside world. In the traditional African community, many of the parents, many of the communities were not looking at the education of the young girls. And so many of our young people, even when they are into leadership, their levels of education are still low. And it is one thing that makes the women's participation in politics a little bit minimal. Their contributions towards debate in parliament is at some point at lower levels as compared to their counterparts, the males. Because one, the males have networks from which they draw some wisdom. While the women, every time you are moving from the chambers, you are running home to go and do care work, which the men don't do. Even when you are a woman member of parliament or you are a senator and your spouse is equally senator, for him, he will expect you to be home and find the meal ready, while for him, he's networking. So can they have a support system, those who are funding us, that enables us to be exposed beyond our territorial boundaries? It is important and it helps. Because coming here to this meeting in South Africa has enabled me to meet many more other women whom I didn't know. I've been able to share a lot of experience from the other sisters, and I get to understand that I'm not alone. I get to understand that there is someone I can call and I say, hi, I have a challenge. How do I have it sorted? I have been able to hear their challenges as well, and possibly I can be of help. And so also increasing our networking and amplifying of voices should be one of the things that our philanthropy
And fund.
should fund.
Yes. Thank you so much. As you wrap up, maybe with your parting shot, and where from the standing point that you are at currently, how are you reimagining democracy in your country, in Uganda, in the spaces that you walk into, in the communities that you still serve?
In Africa, democracy is kind of going to the sidelines. Many countries still believe in participating in democracy. But if you also look at the survey that was done by the Afrobarometer, it says many of the African people still believe in democracy, but they are not satisfied with the outcome of democracy.
Okay.
That possibly we want to reimagine democracy that works for us. That we want to reimagine that we can put people into places of leadership and they serve us. Because democracy is about choosing people who will represent us, represent our needs, and be in position to do, to serve us the way we intend to be served. But reimagining democracy means putting the right people into the right places. Putting people who will care about their populations, right? That when I have Winnie as my member of parliament, I will know that she will know she's accountable to me. She will know that she will come and consult me on a daily to find out how we feel about certain situations when they are doing legislations. Are these legislations they are doing for the people, for the common person, or they are for the advancement of their welfare in their own way as people who are in leadership? So reimagining democracy means centering people's issues and putting the right persons in the right places for the good of the communities, and ensuring that we don't just have frequent elections, but we have free and fair elections, that we shall imagine that everybody will fully participate, because the principle of justice, fairness, participation these are key ingredients of a democracy. Freedom of speech, rights observance is another ingredient of democracy. So where we see that violence is taking the center stage in our democratic processes, that they are being militarized, that they are being commercialized and monetized, that there is a lot of excessive abuse that is going on unchecked, there is need for us to rethink and reimagine democracy so that we put our democracy to the right path. We seem to be going offline. Or maybe we are finding ourselves offside on that clear track of a democratic path.
Thank you so much for that, Winnie. Maybe if you could just share one parting shot. If you were to advise maybe a young person who'd want to venture into politics, what would you advise them?
To a young person who would like to venture into politics, I will say it is possible. Please step forward and do it. One other thing that you need to do is to learn from either the mistakes that the ones ahead of you have committed and learn from their strength and see how best you correct the mistakes and empower yourself or soak yourself into the achievements that they have made so that you can be a finer person than they were. Have role models, have mentors, and reach out to those that you think make life worth living in terms of democracy so that they can hold your hand and they take you through the processes of life. It may not necessarily be an easy task because leadership per se is not an easy task, but you need to take that risk.
Thank you
I
so
took
much.
that risk, and I know another young person can take a risk.
Yes.
You just have to defy the narrative and defy what other people may think is the norm. That you are a young person, you don't have to be hard. But I just want to tell the young people that we cherish you, we value you, because you now know much more than we know. When it comes to campaigning technologically, you are a step ahead than how we used to do it.
Yeah.
While some of us think of door to door, for you are in the air.
Exactly.
Let the sky not even be the limit, because there are those who have gone beyond the sky, and that's what we wish for our young people. You can't keep saying you are there represented when someone tells you we are doing it for you and you are not there. It's not for you. They can't do it for you. They can't say it is yours and you are not part of it and you think it is yours. Be in those spaces where decisions are made for you to be able to control the narratives about young people. I know you're capable. I know you are resilient, and I know that you can fly. Stand up and fly.
Thank you. You've spoken like a parent.
Yeah.
That you've spoken like a true parent in politics.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for your
Welcome.
presence, for your amazing insights and perspectives, for the warm parting shot.
Thank
As a young
you.
person sitting here behind the camera, I'm also inspired and encouraged to
Thank
do
you.
better
Thank
and to
you.
keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you.
Asante sana. And
Thank you.
looking forward to seeing you around as we are still here for the G20, for the African convening, and we will keep connecting and networking and building on the amazing insights and recommendations that
Thank
have
you.
also emerged from this conversation.
Thank you so much, and I would like really to thank the Coleman Fund for making this happen, this African convening, and I continue to pray that those who are partnering with the Coleman Fund to ensure that such gatherings happen, continue doing it, because we need more and more of this, and reach out more also to the young people.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Resist, persist, and reimagine. We've reached the end of our episode. We are thankful to our guest and our host Lilian Boothie for this insightful conversation about the present and future of politics for African women. If you like this episode, please don't hesitate to listen to the full series of Resist, Persist, and Reimagine, a new era for African women's political power, available on your favorite audio platform. Don't forget to share and comment on this episode. You can follow Coleman Fund's work on social media on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Until next time, resist, persist, and reimagine. A new era for African women's political power.